Harper Audio presents The Saboteur, the aristocrat who became France's most daring anti-Nazi commando, by Paul Kix. Read by Malcolm Hillgartner. Prologue. His family kept asking him, why? Why would a hero of the war align himself with one of its alleged traitors? Why would Robert de La Rochefoucauld, a man who had been knighted in France's Legion of Honor, risk sullying his name to defend someone like Maurice Papon, who had been charged these many decades after World War II with helping the Germans during the occupation? The question trailed La Rochefoucauld all the way to the witness stand on a February afternoon in 1998, 4 months into a criminal trial that would last 6, and become the longest in French history. When he entered the courtroom, La Rochefoucauld looked debonair. His silver hair had just begun to recede, and he still swept it straight back. At 74, he carried the dignified air of middle age. He had brown eyes that took in the world with an ironic slant, the mark of his aristocratic forebears, and a Roman ruling class nose. His posture was tall and upright as he walked to the stand and gave his oath, and, lowering himself to his seat at the center of international attention, he appeared remarkably relaxed. His complexion even had a bronze tint, despite the bleak French winter. He remained a handsome man, nearly as handsome as he'd been in those first post-war years, when he'd moved from one girl to the next, until he met Bernadette de Massieu de Gontaut-Biron, his wife and mother of his 4 children. On the stand, La Rochefoucauld wore a green tweed check jacket over a light blue shirt and a patterned brown tie. The outfit suited the country squire, who'd traveled to Bordeaux today from Pontchevron, his 30-room chateau overlooking 66 acres in the Loiret department of north-central France. He radiated a charisma that burned all the brighter when set against the gray sobriety of the courthouse. La Rochefoucauld looked better than anyone in the room. A reputation for bravery preceded him, and almost out of curiosity for why someone like La Rochefoucauld would defend someone like Papon, the court allowed him an opening statement. La Rochefoucauld nodded at the defendant, who sat in a dark suit behind bulletproof glass. The makings of wry exasperation curled La Rochefoucauld's lips as he recalled events from 50 years earlier. First, I would like to say that in 1940, although I was very young, I was against the Germans, against Pétain, and against Vichy. I was in favor of the continuation of the war in the south of France and in North Africa. He was 16 then, and came from a family that despised the Germans. His father, Olivier, a decorated World War I officer who'd re-enlisted in 1939, was arrested by the Nazis 5 days after the armistice, in part because he'd tried to fight beyond the agreed-to peace. His mother, Consuelo, who ran a local chapter of the Red Cross, was known to German officers as the Terrible Countess. On the stand, La Rochefoucauld skipped over almost all of what happened after 1940, the acts of bravery that had earned him 4 war medals and a knighthood. He instead focused his testimony on one episode in the summer of 1944, and experiences that greatly compromised the allegations against Papon. Maurice Papon had been an administrator within the German collaborating Vichy government. He rose to a position of authority in the Gironde department of southwestern France, whose jurisdiction included Bordeaux. The charge against Papon was that from his post as General Secretary of the Gironde Prefecture, overseeing Jewish affairs, he signed deportation papers for 8 of the 10 convoys of Jewish civilians that left for internment camps in France, and ultimately the concentration camps of Eastern Europe. In total, Vichy officials in the Gironde shipped out 1,690 Jews, 223 of them children. Papon had been indicted for crimes against humanity. The reality of Papon's service was far messier than the picture the prosecutors depicted. Despite Papon's lofty title, he was a local administrator within Vichy, and so removed from authority that he later claimed he didn't know the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?